I just got back from seeing Spider-Man Far From Home and it was filled to the brim with Easter eggs, guys. Tons of them, and even subtle callbacks to the comics and the PS4 video game. So today on Beyond the Screen, I'm going to be counting down our list of the top 10 Easter eggs you missed in Spider-Man Far From Home. And yes, there will be spoilers. Tons of them. You have been warned. Also, be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video where I'll be responding to some of your comments. Let's jump in. Coming in at 10, Uncle Ben. R.I.P. Uncle Ben. Still miss you. Of course, Far From Home has a callback to Uncle Ben. You can't have a Spider-Man film without him. It would be criminal. Anyway, there is a very subtle nod to the fallen uncle at the beginning of the film when Peter is packing for a school trip. If you look very closely, you will notice that Peter's suitcase is sporting the initials BFP, aka Benjamin Franklin Parker. So sweet. Coming in at 9, May's new job. In Far From Home, May has a brand new job, a job that is a fun callback to the PS4 video game and the comics. May now works for a charity, and as we know, in the video game she worked for a homeless shelter called Feast. That was until she found out that the founder, Martin Lee, was actually a crime lord called Mr. Negative. Later on in life, May also went on to spearhead the Ben Parker Foundation, named of course after her late husband, and was funded by Peter's brief tenure as an industrialist. Fun times. Coming in at 8, Shield to Sword. In the second post-credit scene of the film, it is revealed to us that Fury is up in space hanging out with the Skrulls and taking a much needed break from all this superhero business. Now, Fury collaborating with the Skrulls could be that the MCU is building toward the debut of Sword, a S.H.I.E.L.D. offshoot which is tasked with protecting Earth from extraterrestrial threats, a problem that ensued following the events of Avengers Infinity War. Coming in at 7, Throwback to MJ. Spider-Man Far From Home ends with Peter and MJ web-slinging around New York City, finally having the date he so desperately wanted. However, this is actually a fun callback to the pre-MCU Spider-Man movies, which saw the original duo soar through the Manhattan skies, but instead of Zendaya it was Kirsten Dunst, and instead of Tom Holland it was Tobey Maguire. However, the twist this time is that MJ absolutely hates Peter's web-slinging and vows to never do it again. And while on the topic of web-slinging, there was also a fun little Easter egg that referenced the PS4 video game. In the same web-slinging sequence, Peter snaps a fun pic of himself in his Spider-Man getup, using the exact same pose that his video game Spider-Man self also did. Coming in at 6, Jonah Jameson. That's right, our favourite controversial journalist is back, and once again played by J.K. Simmons, a highly requested return that finally came true. This beloved character appears in the first post-credits scene. However, it seems that in this iteration of Spider-Man he is not a newspaper journalist, but instead an online news source, similar to the character portrayal in the PS4 Spider-Man game. This appearance is huge, as it is the first time that we have ever seen an actor reprise their role in a separate iteration of an MCU film. Does it mean that what we saw in the Sam Raimi films isn't in fact canon? Who knows? It's likely that this was just a fun nod to the fans who have loved this character since the very beginning. Coming in at 5, Captain Marvel cameos. Spider-Man Far From Home has a handful of callbacks to the Captain Marvel solo film, which was surprising but ultimately makes sense, and you'll see why. In one scene, Fury gets annoyed with Peter, who is questioning where the rest of the Avengers are, even Captain Marvel, with Fury biting back, "Don't invoke her name, lol." And in another scene, Fury references hidden Kree sleeper cells that are on Earth. All bizarre references, but they make sense once the second post-credit scene rolls around, which reveals Fury and Maria Hill to be Skrull shapeshifters, aka Carol's old friends, which allows Fury to take a much needed vacay up in space. Coming in at 4, Other Avengers. Now, Far From Home doesn't feature really any other supers aside from our good old S.H.I.E.L.D. buddies, but it does reference some of our favourite Avengers, including the ones we lost. The film opens with a student tribute video to the fallen heroes following what the kids are calling the blip, aka the snap. We see Iron Man, Black Widow, and Captain America, even though we know he isn't really dead, just old. The movie also references a handful of other heroes, including Thor and Captain Marvel, who are up in space, Doctor Strange, who is busy doing business, who knows what business, and even Pepper Potts, who had signed an oversized check that Happy donates to May's charity. However, the best has to be when Happy finds out just how hard it is to be Captain America, when he attempts to throw a shield at one of Mysterio's drones. And, of course, fails. Coming in at 3, the Elementals. The Elementals began as the central antagonist of Far From Home, however they were quickly established to be fake and all a ruse by the villain Mysterio. However, these villains are actually a very real threat in the comics, with their first appearance being in Supernatural Thrillers issue 8 back in 1974. The Elementals are made up of Hellfire, the leader who can generate fire and flames, Hydron, a villain with aquatic powers with the ability to control water, of course, Magnum, who has the ability to manipulate earth, minerals and rocks, and of course Zephyr, the only female in the team who has the power to control wind, sky and fire. Though they were faked in the film, it's pretty cool that we got to see all of these foes' abilities play out. Coming in at 2, the Marvel Multiverse. At the beginning of the film, when we're first introduced to Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, he claims to be from an alternate universe, which suggests that the MCU will soon be delving into the concept of the Marvel Multiverse. Now, although this turns out to be a lie and that Beck actually hails from Earth, it still doesn't diminish the possibility. The multiverse was also hinted to in Doctor Strange by the Ancient One. It's also worth noting that the Earths discussed in Far From Home are all callbacks to the comics, with Earth 616 being the name of Marvel's classic comic book universe, and Earth 833 the home to Spider-Man UK. The UK, aka the place where the battle between Mysterio and Spider-Man takes place. And finally coming in at number 1, the sequels. Now, this is an Easter egg that even I missed. It's subtle guys, real subtle, so keep your eyes peeled during the final scene of the movie as Peter is swinging around the city on his way to meet up with MJ. On his way, he passes an advertisement that reads, I quote, 1, 2, 3, ? And we can't wait to show you what comes next. While this is incredibly vague, many think this is referencing the future of Spider-Man in the MCU. Basically confirms that a Spider-Man sequel is coming, even though that was already accidentally confirmed by Tom Holland in a press interview. It also hints that Peter's story will be taking an even crazier turn going into Phase 4, and I for one cannot wait. Well, there we have it guys. If you've seen Far From Home, did you catch any of these Easter eggs? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. Before I go though, I just want to respond to a few comments from one of our last videos. Top 10 actors who ruined their careers in seconds. Fluffy Pink Chaos said, can you tell that Lucy absolutely loathes Kevin Spacey? Lol, you preach it, Lucy. Of course I loathe Kevin Spacey. If you don't, I would be incredibly concerned about your mental state. Dan Klaus said, so glad Lucy tells it like it is, no around with her. Honestly, I couldn't even if I wanted to. It's an annoying tick. Twisted Freak said, Lucy, I love your voice. I find it very calming and soothing. Said no one ever, but thank you kindly. Nigerian Prince said, I'm never enough to get a shout out, but Lucy is great. She doesn't act all excited telling the top 10. Refreshing. Damn straight. I'm excited on the inside though, guys. Believe me. Also, you're enough. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another Beyond the Screen vid. Until next time, see you later.